Net neutrality.
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 Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality.
The removal of net neutrality was the crisis for internet users all throughout America. Net neutrality is defined, according to Google, as the principle that internet service providers should enable access to all content and applications, regardless of the source and without favoring or blocking particular products or websites. My name is Blake Oxley, and this is the repeal that shook the net. To better grasp what's important even after the decision, we asked some professionals.
Net neutrality means that no one is able to say, charge a different amount for access to the internet no matter what service you're using.
So right now, ISPs, which is your internet service providers, cannot modify what you can access on the internet.
What net neutrality basically means is that internet service providers can't preferentially favor certain websites over other websites. Basically, there's no favoritism between different websites, and they all get hosted at the same speed. I feel like net neutrality has been the default since the internet existed. And it's only now that it's like called into question whether the default that has existed since the beginning is actually the way that it should be.
To many internet users, the repeal of such law seems oppressive or unfair in their daily internet consumption. We hear from some professionals what they think about the repeal on net neutrality.
It shouldn't be removed because, the removal of net neutrality essentially allows these ISPs to have that control, and so they can charge you on what services you use.
It's super dangerous because it's taking this like free and like open transfer of information that is like incredibly unique, the only one that exists in the world, and changing it and like essentially damaging it.
I hope that net neutrality is not repealed. We need to fight for that because we need to be able to have options.
It would concern me that a company could control basically how fast or slow I get to a site, especially if they start doing that with newspapers or things like that they don't agree with, or like news broadcasts or different channels that they don't like.
So we know net neutrality is a big issue, with people from all different backgrounds being roped into the debate. But what seems so important about it? The major issue with net neutrality is the widespread effect the repeal would have on everybody. With such a large scale of effect, there are few people who would be lucky enough to escape the drawbacks of suddenly existing in a non-neutral world. For this reason, many people are deeply concerned with the issue.
Let's say that you're a file services company and you have a lot of data traffic. Those that are providing those sorts of software services are concerned that their customers may be throttled back, that their access may be limited in some way, that the costs may be higher for their service.
My dad runs his own business from the house, right? So if they decide that they want to start charging more for his specific needs as a business, then he's going to have to pay for that as well.
The effects of net neutrality are essentially universal. Students are affected, teachers are affected, my will to live is affected, families are affected, and digital artists are affected too. If someone is an active user of the internet, they too could be affected by the danger of the repeal. Various people we interviewed testified about what possible effects make each of them concerned about net neutrality.
I don't think that Newgrounds could exist in like a non-net neutral world. For example, I don't think that like SoundCloud could have gotten off the ground if net neutrality wasn't a thing.
I rely extremely heavily on the internet, very heavily. Everything that my students do is turned into an online website. We use YouTube and Google Drive all the time to find videos and tutorials. We have our own YouTube channels to go through and post our online animations. You kind of can't print an animation. So it is slightly worrisome that they may decide that YouTube is not in favor with someone that week, and that we would have to wait instead of seconds to be able to upload hours.
Despite these views, there are those out there that don't see the issue in the same light. We asked why there are people opposing net neutrality.
If you're a company that's invested millions, if not billions of dollars in an infrastructure to be able to go out and supply a better service, you should be able to charge more than somebody that's able to come piggyback off your footprint of the marketplace.
Because you still have a number of providers to online services. And if in fact you were a regulated business, then it doesn't affect you because they're all being told they can charge the same amount.
But the problem really is that they have already a lot of control. Like, for example, in my neighborhood, the only option I have is AT&T. So if AT&T decides that you have to pay $50 extra to access YouTube, I'll have to pay $50 extra.
I think it's primarily people that would benefit from making more money off of it, obviously. I think there's a lot of corruption in government right now, for sure.
One of the arguments of those for the repeal of net neutrality is that it can help regulate the distribution and acquisition of illegal content. However, many know that if there's a will, there is most definitely a way. People remain skeptical of the claims of restraining the transfer of illegal content.
No, they won't. Because people that are dealing in criminal matters will always find a way to get around it.
No, it's agnostic to the content. If you're thinking in terms of like, copyrighted material being downloaded, it doesn't address that at all.
We see him everywhere on social media. Ajit Pai, the chairman of the FCC, the man who got rid of free internet, the Reese's Mugman, the destroyer of worlds. Pai's the figurehead or scapegoat of the repeal of net neutrality, leading the FCC to money-hungry corporations. In the midst of all this chaos, is he handling the situation correctly?
No, of course not, right? Like, it's like the most fundamental failure that the FCC could possibly have.
He's not making a convincing argument for why we should repeal net neutrality. He's almost kind of childish in the way he's acting.
The battle for net neutrality has never been more important as we fight for the equal protection of all networks. The repeal of net neutrality will affect not only the major providers, but will trickle down to us, the people. The companies will be able to control what we view, and if they control the means of transportation, they control the message. We must still gather and oppose it, as we never must submit to larger corporate powers. We want you to voice your opposition to the dismantling of net neutrality and fight back for your freedom. Wait, Nani?
何？お前はもう死んでいる。
Right. It has been quite a controversial topic on what happens right after the vote. Mimi, big boy.